and welcome or welcome back to the channel. My name is V, and today I actually wanted to talk about something, but then I stumbled upon a video that I also wanted to watch, and I just decided to do both things because even though I haven't seen this particular video yet, I feel like it's going to resonate with something that I've been feeling for a while now, and I think it's going to be a good idea to just discuss it with together, all of us, because this is something that I feel like has been hitting the Final Fantasy 14 community hard, and I feel like a lot of people think that it is something that has to do with them personally, or maybe to do with you if you're the one who actually feels this way, who feels a little bit maybe burnt out from the game. Maybe you think that your interests have changed. Maybe you think that there's something wrong with you, that you're no longer enjoying Final Fantasy 14 anymore, which is okay. If you're not, that's totally normal and totally fine. And I don't think it would be healthy to assume that everyone is always going to enjoy the same things forever. And that's why I kind of wanted to talk about this and just get to have a general idea of what the other people from the community are feeling. And by the way, if you haven't subscribed to Fashionista, make sure to do so. This is the video on their channel. And if you enjoy my content as well, and if you're a fan of Final Fantasy 14, along with some future MMORPGs that I'll be covering, but more on that later, feel free to leave a sub here as well. And yeah, let's watch the video. Let's go to the beginning, and here we go. Oh, their videos are always so pretty.
Welcome in, friend. It is good to see you once again. My name is Jasper, and it is a pleasure to make your acquaintance. Today's question: is burnout real in Final Fantasy XIV? Is it perhaps you, or is it the game? Today I'll discuss. I don't know if it's just me, but I've noticed people getting burnt out of Final Fantasy XIV really quickly, despite there being a new patch out recently. It's also prevalent in the
Honestly, this is something that I felt in this particular patch, so 6.3, as well as in the previous one. So 6.2 and 6.3 have been really weird within the community, and I could feel like an obvious drop on the channel when it comes to the views as well. Not because I think there was a change in the content that I'm producing. Maybe I have like streamed Final Fantasy 14 a little bit less, but my main exposure and my main views on the channel have never come mainly from the streams, apart from obviously that time when I was streaming MSQ, and that was the only content pretty much that I was producing, along with maybe some occasional, small in-game guides or something like that. But apart from that, I think that everyone's been feeling this hit, especially the content creators. And I've been talking to a lot of my content creators friends as well, especially who are covering Final Fantasy 14 on their growing channels. And I think that we've all come to the conclusion that, there can't be just one game or just one thing that we are all collectively focusing on. For someone who's raiding or streaming Final Fantasy 14 consistently, or has been for years, or has an enormous audience, I think that they are taking a hit as well, but maybe it's not as noticeable, because for as long as you can survive and maybe not necessarily thrive, but just like remain where you are, it's probably okay for the time being, even though we all want to be growing regardless of whether we are a small channel or a big channel or whatever. I think that this is just something important to discuss, because as a Final Fantasy 14 content creator, if I wanted to produce more of FF14 content, let's say when it comes to streaming, I would be streaming. I have a ton of things that I haven't been doing. That includes, I don't know, finishing up Boja, farming, relics, or even raiding, finishing up with Savage, or maybe trying something more challenging, leveling up my crafters, doing like all of these things. But I have to admit, it just hasn't been as appealing, and it's been very difficult lately to get people interested and engaged within the community, to not just to to watch streams or watch content, that's something that is up to, people to decide whether or not they feel like, watching Final Fantasy 14 oriented content at the moment. But I'm talking more about the engagement within the community, in a way that that we used to do, I don't know, treasure maps together, different, runs, even when it comes to like just daily roulettes or whatever. And I've been struggling during the streams to find people who, I don't know, who I can do things with. Sometimes I will like spend a lot of time in the party finder, or shouting across the city states, because I don't know, I need a party member or someone to help me finish, like, I don't know, the alliance raids and Borgia or whatever. It's been hard. It's been difficult. And even when it comes to these like fun community things like treasure maps and whatnot, I've been inquiring and trying to get people to, to participate in all these things. And most of the people who have been, involved in our community, at least, are currently not subscribed to Final Fantasy 14. And it's been hard to make content. And for me, it's been hard to also enjoy it as a solo player. It was easy, or easier, to enjoy it back when I was streaming MSQ, and when I really didn't like need anyone. Ironically, that was when I, had the most people, I guess, I don't know, watching the streams or participating in the content or whatever, because there was, something to watch, something to react to, and whatnot. But I feel like we're a little bit past that point, and that's why I decided, that I can't be sticking to a singular MMORPG, even though it's difficult to like, decide to not, I don't know, play Final Fantasy 14 for a month, because sometimes I'll really want to log in and, do an event, or, do anything that there is that, I'm currently interested in. Or maybe I want to log in and do my, weekly, I don't know, Aglia runs or whatever. Even do like the weekly reset streams, which I've been trying to stay consistent with here on the channel, because that is at least a little bit of like a Final Fantasy 14 hangout time that we have here on the channel. And at least for the, community members and viewers who have been playing Final Fantasy 14, I feel like I'm, in that way, I'm kind of giving back to the community a little bit and having some fun, because most of the time those streams will be either, I don't know, I want to say Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, when people are actually around doing their weekly things and, running their, weekly alliance raids, or, whatever it is that we're doing. I can still find like a couple of people to do things with, and I would like to continue to do that. But I'd also like to just kind of dive into, I guess, a little bit of a different content as well, and maybe do something new. I've been wanting to play the Star Wars: The Old Republic MMORPG and Guild Wars 2. Like, those I think are the first two MMORPGs that I would like to try, at least for, for the lore and for the experience, to just kind of, see what it's like, and to just, I don't know, to just get the feeling of where people go when they're not in Final Fantasy 14. And I'm looking forward to that. I've recently been very busy with my other channel, which is V Plays, and I've been doing a lot of variety content there, which I've really been enjoying. And it's been such a breath of fresh air, and it's been keeping me going as a content creator. So, in case you didn't know where, to find me when there's not a lot of content to cover here for the Final Fantasy 14 stuff, you can always find me there on YouTube, and of course on Twitch, where I just help stream everything. And yeah, that's mostly what I've been up to. And I think that now that we're kind of getting out of the whole the whole big release coverage, I guess, era that started kind of, last fall, and is just kind of slowly subsiding right now, probably until, I don't know, summer or whatever, when some of the bigger releases are going to start popping up again. I feel like I'm gonna have more time to actually do some MMORPG content, and not just variety, or not just Final Fantasy 14. And hopefully we're gonna get some news on, another expansion as well, because I don't know, I feel like we're kind of starved from it as a community. I feel like this is something that everyone's waiting for.
The content creation side of things. If you're a streamer or a content creator who perhaps might not be into the raiding side of things and goes through just the MSQ, They find themselves running out of things to do very
Yeah.
quickly. I see this on Twitter and other social media platforms, but let's turn this around to you, the average player. I asked the question yesterday on Twitter and, of course, on the Fashionista Discord, if you are burnt out with the game, and if so, tell me why, and if not, what do you keep yourself busy with from within the game? Let's check out some of the responses. But before that, a big thank you from today's sponsor, Raid Shadow.
I feel like the people who can consistently keep themselves very busy and engaged within the game are most of the time people who have no problem playing Final Fantasy XIV even as a solo game. There's a smaller community that is extremely focused on raiding with their statics and whatnot, and those are the people who do depend on other people to be in game as well. But the vast majority of people are casual players who don't really engage consistently with that kind of content, and they just basically deal with that in a way that they see, I guess, Final Fantasy XIV as a kind of a, I guess, a sandbox open world game, where they can just like run around and do things that they're interested in without depending on others too much.
Legends. I'm just messing with you, never mind. Let's head over to Twitter and see what people have got to say. The first comment I see is from Slinea, and they say, yeah, I typically can only handle about 2 weeks to a month at a time.
It's just kind of worrisome how people say handle, as if it's like a, I don't know, like I never used to see Final Fantasy 14 as something that like a playtime or whatever that people handle.
Time. The game is just not set up to facilitate long-term play without significant concessions from the player. Some people like this, of course, but that is absolutely not the experience that I want from my MMOs. I agree, Slinea. If you're only interested in one type of content within the game, let's say for example raiding, it's only going to keep you busy for a short time before you get burnt out. Anyway, on to the next comment. The next comment comes from Shelley Louise, and they say, if you're a vet player, it's for sure the game. Once you've done everything over the years, there just isn't enough to keep me or other players busy. They really need something like Mythic Plus, where it can be repeated but still fun with unique awards.
Mythic Plus is a very dangerous, path to tread down, and I don't know if Final Fantasy XIV as a community is ready for that, because we saw what it did to World of Warcraft community. Well, World of Warcraft community has been a little bit toxic even before the Mythic Plus happened. So I don't know if this is necessarily going to be something that would apply to Final Fantasy XIV as well. But I do agree that these more relevant weekly challenges should be a thing. And honestly, something that I'm really sad about is about how the criterion and the what are they called, variant dungeons, like how they actually flopped, because it's such a big project for them to undertake, and it was just something to run through. I for example didn't even do the like the savage versions of the dungeons, simply because, well, first of all, there was not enough people who I knew who were like interested in that kind of thing at the moment, and the rewards just weren't enticing enough, so it just never ended up being a thing. And I don't even know how many people actually run these consistently. And then there's these the easier dungeons. Those are the variant, I guess. They are fun, but once you like get the mount or whatever, you just like, I don't know, don't engage with the content anymore. They never ended up like including those dungeons into like the weekly roulette, or making it somehow relevant for the people who don't want to do savage raiding to do like savage dungeons and still be able to gear their characters. That may have been something that I would have been interested in, but they missed out on that opportunity, and I thought that was I don't know, very underwhelming.
Yes, I am a veteran player myself, and I'll talk more upon that later. But for now, I'll say that yes, we do need more repeatable content, something to keep us busy outside of raiding and the usual expert dungeon spam. Maybe we could have something like the Mage Tower from World of Warcraft, where
That was
players were
fun.
tested on their knowledge of their job, and if successful, you will be rewarded.
Like, okay, like Palace of the Dead and the whole like necromancer title or whatever, that is fun. And like if I was to like stream Final Fantasy 14 and not really engage with, I guess, other people and be okay with that, I guess that is something that I could do on the channel. It's just that I've been lacking a little bit of I want to say a little bit of incentive because playing Final Fantasy 14 as a solo player is just the experience that I now know that I could be getting out of some of the, other bigger games that I haven't even started playing yet and I really want to. For example, like I know it's not the same, but like I'm waiting to, I don't know, to start playing some of the really cool games that came out, I don't know, last year, in the past couple of years. God of War Ragnarok, even Elden Ring and Cyberpunk, and all these games that I want to experience. And I feel like going I don't know, going to Final Fantasy 14 to just force myself into some sort of content to do it for the sake of, having a live stream, once or twice a week or whatever here on the main channel is just kind of, I don't know, detrimental to, I guess, my own well-being, and I don't know, getting me to do what I want and what makes me happy. And I feel like it just takes the time that I could be investing into maybe exploring other games and, interacting with the community in a different way, talking about different things. And I don't know, like I feel like it just like takes away valuable time that I want to spend right now doing something else. And that's kind of a sad feeling, I guess, to have about something that's been such a huge part of my life in the past like 2 years or so. But I really want to feel that way about Final Fantasy 14 again. And I don't think it's necessarily about the game. I feel like it's about the amount of content that I've been through and the amount of content that there is right now that would completely make me feel, enticed to participate in it and not do other things, like, play some of these games that I've been, drawn towards and been wanting to play, I suppose.
With a unique weapon skin. So yes, I'd love to see something like that within the game. Next up, I'd like to see a content creator's perspective. So let me just check that out. Okay, we found Snackies. I know Snackies has been featured on the streamer highlights quite a lot. And yes, they've recently returned to Final Fantasy XIV, which I'm quite happy about, so let me see what they have to say. So Snackies says, I absolutely burnt out last year. I had finished the MSQ, which was a huge portion of my gameplay and content, which led to me trying to find a new avenue of enjoyment in Final Fantasy XIV. The raids are nice, but I've never really been one to be part of a static or guild. Trying to get my community to play with me usually worked, but content got old and I didn't want other people to feel compelled to join my streams for raids if they had their own static to raid with. On top of that, the hype for 14 started to dwindle, and with that my stream channel wasn't performing like it had as peak hype.
I understand this, and honestly, like I'm just gonna like I guess be honest with, with you as a viewer here on the channel. What really worried me as a Final Fantasy 14 content creator whose subscriber numbers have been growing on YouTube, whose reach has been growing, I could see a significant peak in not a peak, but like the drop in the amount of people who are subscribed to the channel but don't engage with the videos during the content droughts. Something happened maybe like 3 or 4 months ago, I suppose. I reached the point that I had never reached before since my YouTube channel, this channel, got partnered. And mind you, that was around the time when World of Warcraft was at its downfall, and as a channel that at the time had like around 1K to 2K subscribers at the channel, I was still being able to, I guess, reach that payment threshold on YouTube. For the first time ever, it happened that I wasn't able to reach the payment threshold on YouTube from the ads themselves. Luckily, the channel has grown enough so that I was, receiving your support through Patreon, through other revenue streams, and I'm really grateful and really appreciative of that, because that's been keeping me going. That's what I rely on, especially during the content droughts. It's very hard to give people incentive to, I guess, support the channel monetarily in some sort of way if there's no like direct interaction, with the streamer, maybe things to do or whatever. But I just kind of wanted to mention this and to let you know that I have been, relying on this. I've been relying on some new opportunities and sponsorships that I've received, and I just want to say thanks for that, because on the YouTube end, that was always kind of, supposed to be there when it comes to that, ad revenue and whatnot. It has not been keeping me going consistently, and I'm trying not to rely on it. But the fact that, even with, that World of Warcraft downfall just before I started streaming FF14, that it never happened on that small channel for me to not be able to reach the monthly payment threshold. And it happened to me now when I hit, like, I don't know, 8,000 subs on the channel or whatever. That was really scary. That was really, 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 really scary. And I didn't want to let that, happen to me again. And that's why I took the time and realized that, well, I took the time to, I guess, invest myself and my time into another channel, which is still not monetized, but I feel like I need that, that creative outlet and an opportunity to keep my content going that is not just Final Fantasy XIV forced and related here on the main channel, because I don't want to force underwhelming content and produce underwhelming content here on the main channel for the sake, of views or hitting that monthly threshold or YouTube ads or whatever it is, engagement and whatnot. I want to be there for my viewers, for you, and to do the content that makes me happy as well, because I feel like that's when I produce the best content, and I just don't want to be forced into content that right now I'm not really engaging with, I suppose.
I can only speak for myself, but I can imagine for other streamers it becomes pretty easy to fall out of love with a game that no longer benefits your channel, but also is the only thing that keeps your channel performing at its best.
Yeah.
You feel anchored down to that game, which makes things less enjoyable. This was at least my experience in 14. My solution was to just not stream it for a long while and focus on other games whilst taking the hits that would come with streaming different
Yeah.
games. After a while, I recharged and regained the 14 drive to play it, but now I just play it on my own for the most part without an audience watching me. It feels kind of nice that way.
I've honestly, I have been doing the same things. Like sometimes I will go and I will do an expert, or I will, redo my glam plays, or do an event that I will later, maybe make a video on or whatever. And it feels nice and it's felt nice, but I haven't really been interacting much, and I guess that's something that I feel guilty about. But it feels a little comforting, that I'm not alone in it as well, I suppose.
Completely agree, Snackies, as a former streamer myself and future streamer, that once you go through all the content in Final Fantasy XIV, it feels like you are forced, especially for the audience that you have cultured, through streaming that game. It puts an unnecessary pressure on you as a streamer. I can
It
see
does.
burning out from content creation being a thing also. If you're a streamer watching this, do you agree with what Snackies said? Or perhaps are you finding never-ending content whilst playing Final Fantasy XIV? I'd love.
I feel like it all comes down to how well you position yourself during the MSQ. But maybe not so, because I had a lot of great interactions here on the channel as a streamer, as a Final Fantasy XIV MSQ streamer. It's been great and it's been amazing, and I still, remember all the people who used to come to the channel and interact, and I remember like the good times. It wasn't like I wasn't distanced from it. I had fun and it was great to share these things about the game. But at the same time, just the fact that, they were there at some point, or maybe that you were there at some point if you're watching this, but we haven't, I don't know, interacted in a while or whatever. that doesn't mean that you should feel like you have to continue to be there. It's not normal, and it's not okay from, streamers to expect their viewers will be there to watch the content even when the content is not something that they would like to watch, just because of some sort of I don't know, responsibility or the urge to help the streamer to, I don't know, to continue to grow or whatever. It's like, you don't owe anything to streamers. If anything, we are here to provide you with good content, with entertainment and whatever. And it's not up to you to feel responsible to be there and continue to support someone through the times that, I don't know, that there's a content drought, or that, there's not enough content being produced that you're interested in, or maybe you're interested in something else or whatever. That's kind of the reason why I started a variety channel, because I noticed that a lot of my audience is interested in other games at the moment. And I felt a lot of joy just seeing a lot of my Final Fantasy XIV viewers come to my other YouTube channel to V-plays and to interact with all of the other games that I've been playing. It's so nice to kind of, meet people in a different environment that's not necessarily 14 related, and still be able to interact as a community. Honestly, that's been so refreshing. And every time I stream a new game, every time I do something else, there are new people joining the community who weren't, on the channel before. And I don't know, every time there's like a new game, I feel like, the community that we have, the variety one, is slowly but steadily growing, with more people choosing to be there for the community and not just for the game that I'm playing. And that's why I'm finding a lot of comfort and a lot of joy in lately just streaming variety, because I feel, I guess, more appreciated as a content creator, and not just as a face that, that reacts to big MSQ moments or whatever. Because I feel like we're there to just enjoy, well, pretty much any journey that we decide to embark on, and that just kind of feels good.
Love to hear about that down in the comments below. Anyway, let's move on. I'd love to hear some thoughts of people who may not be burnt out from the game and what they're doing to keep themselves from burning out. So I have a comment from Grunkle Gwen, and they say, I think there's a difference between nothing significant to do and burnout. For me, it's the first to a degree. I haven't done any Endwalker class quests, but also don't feel like it at the moment. Instead, I enjoy my time doing Eureka, leveling jobs slowly, and joining friends on their journey. Burnout only hits me when I try to hook or buy crook to make content. So I don't do that anymore, and I just go slow and play something else. For me, Final Fantasy XIV is the story game, so if there isn't a story I am really involved in, I just laze around. So what you're
Yeah,
saying
same.
is, socializing keeps things a bit more interesting for you. I do see that quite commonly in the comments, that people mostly play for the social aspect of the game, and some others are actually burnt out because of the social aspect regarding FC dramas.
Hmm.
I think it's time for me to give you my take. But before that, I just want to give a huge thank you to the Patreon support that we've had on the Fashionista. You guys are amazing, thank you from the bottom of my heart. If you want to become a Patreon supporter, you can directly influence what topic our next video will be covering. For example, our next video will be covering the next expansion.
Honestly, the people underestimate how important these, these little bits and pieces of support are for content creators, especially for content creators who have had their channels, demonetized and whatnot, with like the, with all the things that, Lulu and the Fashionista have gone through. It's very good to see that they're receiving a lot of support. And it's just something that you don't think it matters a whole lot, but like, it over time, it really accumulates for streamers, especially when, when these lower tier Patreon streams start, piling up, like the $1 ones, the $3, the $5 ones. It's not a lot of money, but as a continued, support and continued subscription, it becomes something that you as a content creator kind of start relying on? For example, like, I don't know, at some point you receive, I don't know, $5 a month, and it's something that you use to, I don't know, pay some sort of like small, I don't know, monthly fee that you have, maybe like a subscription, maybe, half of your, Netflix or Spotify if you're really not investing like right now into the channel or whatever. But then it starts being like $10 or $20, and it suddenly becomes something that pays for your, I don't know, your Final Fantasy subscription, or the subscription to the game that you're currently creating content for. And over time it pays for your entire, I don't know, internet bill, or it pays for your electricity bill or whatever. It's like these things are easy to overlook and underestimate when you see that someone has like lower Patreon tiers or whatever, but it really does help, especially during those times when you feel like there's less people maybe interacting with your channel or watching your channel, and you feel like you're struggling a little bit to, to cover all of your expenses. But then you still have your, I don't know how big of a Patreon that you have, and it still pays for your Final Fantasy 14 subscription. And you know that like every time you log in to maybe make a video or do an event, to cover, or anything else that's new in the game that you want to be logged in for, that you're relying on that sort of income. And I've been feeling like that, and it's meant the world to me to just have, that kind of security, I guess, to know that there are these things that I'll be able to cover thanks to that. So again, I just wanted to say thank you, and in my like, as me, and for all the other content creators who you're currently supporting, maybe through Patreon or through YouTube memberships or whatever. It does mean a lot, even though it doesn't feel like a lot to, I don't know, invest $1 a month into someone or whatever. Sometimes it's just a number. Sometimes it's just, the amount of people that, is showing on someone's Patreon, feed that, that they're supporting. It's sometimes that $1 isn't necessarily something that's going to, pay for some sort of like big expense or whatever, but it is endorsement. It is a way to show to the others who might consider supporting a content creator, that, you support them, and that you think that their content is worth supporting, and someone who might want to invest a little more will invest a little more. But you are contributing to that, that number of people who stand by the content creator, and that's something, something that is important.
And what we, the Fashionista team, want to see. Anyway, one thing that does stand out is that burnout is more likely to occur if you're predominantly a solo player rather than a
Yeah.
group player in a free company, for example. I can see that it may happen if a lot of the content doesn't really appeal to you. That way, you might run out of things to do pretty quickly. Let's say, for example, you just like the MSQ with a bit of static raiding. You'll probably go through the MSQ in a day, and then it's just the case of logging in for the raids, and you're done. There wouldn't be anything there to attach yourself to the game, especially once you have done the thing you're most interested about, in this case, the MSQ. I notice quite a few of you are not burning out because of your social life from within the game, which keeps things interesting, whether you're hanging out in Limsa or just talking to passers-by, or even hanging out with your free company members talking about your day. I also had a few responses saying that they've been playing since 2020, when the whole pandemic kicked off and people needed something to do whilst they were in quarantine, and feel the game still has a lot to offer them. For the solo players watching, you guys seem to be content driven rather than the social, so you guys need content to burn through to keep you there. So for example, the MSQ or even the latest raid, which may keep you around for a bit, but once you've attained all the shiny gear, you move on, and that is completely fine. Some responses do tell me that they are burnt out with social interaction and the consistent drama in groups of people. Which does make sense. If you're in a large free company, you're expected to see some drama eventually. Now for me, am I burnt out with the game? So something I've noticed about myself is I've tried my hand at practically everything. Whether it be G-posing, preset making, housing, raiding, or even PvP, I've probably at least tried it to death. Even leveling another character, so I know I'm not alone in thinking there are probably a lot more people like me who have done practically everything the game has to offer. I do know Yoshi P once stated that it's okay to take breaks, but I think that's a poor excuse for game development, especially if you're a veteran like me who loves devouring content.
Honestly, it's a little bit of a harsh thing to say, but at the same time, it did hurt a little bit to hear this. And I guess sometimes things only hurt when you feel like there's a little bit of truth to it. And I feel like maybe we are reaching that point where there's an actual consequence to this attitude that they have as developers that they've mentioned before when they said that they're greedy and want to give something to everyone. I feel like that maybe we're reaching that point that they're like stretched too thin, and that there's so much to do in game that some of the content pieces have been left, I don't know, lackluster at best, I guess, kind of like with those criterion and variant dungeons, or anything that was recently, or I don't know, not so recently introduced in the game. It's like new things keep happening, but whenever there's a feedback on a piece of content that might be underwhelming, I feel like lately the development team may have been like stretched too thin, and they've been doing so many other things, like, I don't know, creating new ultimate raids and doing all this stuff. But if they invest a lot of time into a piece of content that just hasn't really delivered, like when it comes to results, I feel like they should go back and revisit and see if there's something else that could be done, except and not just saying like, oh, well, the content is there, but you don't have to play it if you'd much rather play something else. It's, I don't know, it's kind of sad.
So, yes, with that, I am slightly burnt out, but I do try to keep things interesting by making videos for the game, creating guides, and things like that. It does keep me quite busy, but I'm not really playing the game as I've not even finished the patch quest yet. I will admit, the story this time around didn't actually grab me, unlike previous expansions. For someone like me,
For me, to me, it did, but I think the most important thing that helped me be super invested into Endwalker, like post patch story, is going through Final Fantasy IV. Honestly, playing through that story, playing through that game, uh, I guess saved me when it comes to my overall like investment, like as a player into the MSQ and the story and everything. And I feel like my experience maybe would have been different if I didn't play through four. And I don't know. Maybe not. But I feel like sometimes these big content pieces, like all of the Endwalker post game or whatever, it's like they expect you to know these stories. It's not just a singular piece of content, kind of like the Near Alliance raid, or something else, kind of like, I don't know, Palace of the Dead being related to Tactics Ogre Reborn or whatever. It's like if you don't know history about of these places, you can still enjoy the content, and it doesn't really impact you that much. But if you don't know the story of Final Fantasy IV, it's going to impact your entire Endwalker 6.1 to 6.5 experience, because even though you might be able to enjoy it, there is so much context that you need to know, or that you should know, in order to fully feel the story. And I don't know if I like how they're basically doing like these advertisements for other Final Fantasy games within Final Fantasy 14 on such big pieces of content. It's like, well, you don't have to play it, but if you don't, God help you.
yes, I am kind of a solo player because of how much time I spend working on content creation. I
Same.
will say, but the recent patch release felt kind of underwhelming to me.
Like, if you're a content creator, you are in for a very, very lonely journey. I'm lucky to still have like a couple of people who consistently play 14, so whenever I actually do want to do something, I can maybe get some of them to play, or maybe do some experts or dailies or whatever it is that I'm interested in. But apart from that, I'm mostly just logged in game, and mostly in GPOs recording the weirdest things that people, I guess, don't understand why I'm standing in Limsa recording myself or whatever. It's like normally I'm in like G pose because I'm recording like the background, I don't know, footage for my videos and whatnot, and I don't really interact much. And it's like he said, it's a very lonely journey just because of the amount of time that you have to be in game but not playing the game.
In previous expansions, we had already Eureka-style content for players to keep themselves busy with. You know, as an alternative way for you to grind up those jobs. Anyway, so patch day rolls around, and I assumed there'd be a little more content, such as the new deep dungeon for example. So I was quickly surprised things that were teased in the live letter wouldn't be out for another month or so. I did the Alliance raid, which felt easier than previous iterations, and I will mention it kind of felt forgettable. The boss's appearances excluding certain assets, especially when compared to the near raid series, even the previous Alliance raid from patch 6.1, it didn't quite hit the mark for me and fell pretty
Mhm.
short of my expectations, honestly.
I see.
Considering the previous raids had that wow factor, and I would dare say they're iconic, visually and mechanically. I would like to see the dev team dare to shake things up a little, with a new cast we can get attached to, instead of grabbing the band as per usual and stopping X-Bad Guy from destroying the world again. I'm talking about a full reset, a Realm Reborn style. I do think there perhaps could be an opportunity here, especially after the climax of the main scenario quest of Endwalker, where new adventures are possibly on the horizon.
I just hope that they, grab this opportunity and make something great out of it so that, the game can at least somewhat return to what it was like a couple of years ago. And I know that's difficult. Like hopefully we're not going to have another pandemic and another quarantine. Like nobody wants that. And of course that whole situation has affected Final Fantasy 14 as an online game as well, but I feel like story-wise they've really I don't expect another Shadowbringers or another Endwalker or whatever, but maybe a new adventure that feels actually fresh and innovative could be a good thing.
Perhaps a time skip could be at least interesting leading into 7.0. It'll be exciting to see where it goes from here. So, what are the devs currently doing to try and keep players' retention? I do think it's an interesting question, but I can't help feeling like the devs have tried to keep player attention by adding too many systems, but
Yeah.
have also in doing so stretched themselves thin. Systems like the Island Sanctuary and Criterion content to try and sustain the population. But I feel in doing so means there's less focused content on current systems like housing and Eureka style content. And I would say that the new
Like housing receives regular updates with new housing items and with the community submissions and competitions and whatnot, but I feel like it may not be enough because they're actually not addressing the main issue, being that not everyone gets to have a house and very few people have the opportunity to do it. Like I'm very passionate about decorating RFC house, but that's just something that I can do for myself, and I can't really make guides or content that will actually perform, or maybe I don't know how to do it to make them perform, because so many people will watch and appreciate the aesthetics of it, but it's not going to be useful for them. Like I considered a series of like housing guides for like I don't know, maybe just like decorating and housing for beginners, and doing this whole series of guides for the that FC room that I bet a lot of people don't even know it exists, like the ones where you send your submarines and your like airship missions and whatnot, where you get like all of this stuff. Like I've been learning about that system, but like if I was to take this knowledge and invest it into content creation, I feel like that would just not even perform because so many people don't even have access to that kind of thing. If you have housing, most at most you have like an apartment or whatever, and some people have their I don't know, like I feel like they need to address that issue first. And I don't know, it's just sad to see that a lot of people can't enjoy something that quite possibly might be the most fun thing to do in Final Fantasy 14. They're still paying the subscription just like I'm paying it, just like everybody else with the house is paying it, but they don't have access to it, sadly.
new Alliance raid felt kind of lacking in length, difficulty, and design. It felt more akin to a dungeon. Now I pose a question to you, dear viewer. Do you feel the same? If you don't, let me know in the comments below. What keeps you playing? I'd love to hear your opinion on this. Now that is the end of the video, but if you want to see more of me, don't forget to like, subscribe. My name is Jasper, and I'm from The Fashionista. I'll be seeing you next time. Thank you for watching. Bye.
This was a good video. It gave me a lot to think about, and honestly, in a way, it also made me feel better. And I guess, well, better in a way that I don't feel as guilty about how I've been feeling lately. And luckily, I have found, that sort of, I guess, creative outlet with my variety channel, and I've been really enjoying that. I guess that as as something to do, as something to work towards, as something to progress on when it comes to content creation and everything. And I'm very grateful to each and every one of you who have been with me on that journey, because it really made me feel like that's something that I should be doing, something that's possible for me to do after years of playing I don't know, World of Warcraft and then Final Fantasy 14. It's a new territory for me. I suck at a lot of games, but I'm having a lot of fun, and I just kind of wanted to say thanks again for for just being understanding and wanting to do this with me, and wanting to to kind of participate in that kind of content with me as well. But anyway, I would also like to hear what you think about this, and how this whole topic and this whole video and discussion made you feel. Are you still playing Final Fantasy 14? Are you still finding something something to do? Are you maybe on a break? Do you play other games? Do you have game recommendations? Like anything that you want to share, make sure to leave a comment and give me your thoughts on it. And that's gonna be it for today. If you happen to be new on the channel and you've stuck till the very end of this video, make sure to subscribe as well. And yeah, I hope to see you around. Thank you for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Bye.